Welcome to Three Count Commentaries. This is your host, MagMongoSlade. Today we're going to talk about the WWE first quarter earnings report for 2022. Overall, this was one of the shorter earnings calls. It was pretty to the point. It was only like 40 minutes or so. So Vince didn't say much of anything. He really didn't add much. But we're going to get into some of the highlights here. Some of the things Nick Khan said. And we're going to read a little bit of the actual earnings report. So before we really get into it, let's go to the press release. So the press release read as follows. It says, first quarter highlights. It says revenue was $33 million, an increase of 27% and a quarterly record. Operating income was 92.4%, an increase of 42%. Return capital to the shareholders is $38.9 million, including share repurchases and dividends paid. Announced a multi-year expansion of Public's original programming partnership with A&E. That includes 130 new hours of premium WWE-themed series and specials. This would be what Nick Khan mentioned, WWE Rivals. Now, this is very, very interesting. So WWE Rivals is supposedly going to be a show. It's going to be like a documentary series talking about the top wrestling rivalries in and outside of the ring. So we already know I'm waiting for the Shawn and Bret thing. Bring it. Bring it. Look, no matter how many times they try to mine that gem, I will watch it. I actually have the Bret Hart Shawn Michaels DVD that they put out with the conversation with Jim Ross where they all sat around and talked. I want that again. Whenever Shawn and Bret can sit in the same place and talk about and Shawn called Bret a dinosaur, I think, in that thing. It was great. It was fantastic. I'm waiting for them to do it again. Please do it again. And there's also going to be a lot of kayfabe stuff. Probably, Austin and Vince, Austin and Bret, Austin and Rock. Hopefully they can get The Rock to participate. Probably not, but hopefully. I'm interested in how they're going to do like some of the dead guys, like Hogan and Warrior, or Hogan and Savage. How are you going to do that? Or the Savage and Steamboat thing. So that ought to be very interesting too, but it's going to be a documentary series, on the rivalries. I love that. That's a fantastic idea. It's a better idea than WWE Evil. And the execution of Evil was a problem. The idea behind Evil was a great concept. But this is going to be in addition to, I think, Hidden Treasures coming back, or Most Wanted Treasures is coming back, and Biographies is coming back. So they're really in the tank on A&E. Love it. And that's very fucking cool. So they said it announced a brand broadcast partnership with NBC Group, the largest and leading group in the Middle East and North Africa (MENA) region, to air WWE premium live events, live episodes of Raw and SmackDown, as well as WWE Network's vast library of content. If I remember correctly, this is supposed to be similar to their deal with NBC in the United States. It says, announced a comprehensive long-term partnership with Fanatics to create a new enhanced digital platform for e-commerce and licensed merchandise, as well as physical, digital, and non-fungible token trading cards. Now, NFTs have kind of tanked recently in interest because most people truly don't know what NFTs are. I'm one of them. I don't get it. But they're still doing NFTs, which is interesting. But Fanatics is now going to take over most of their merchandising. That ought to be pretty fun. WWE 2K22, the latest installment of the company's flagship video game franchise, was released to strong consumer demand and rave reviews. I don't have the game myself, but I haven't heard anything negative about it. Most people I know actually do like the game, and they enjoy it. So they also, in the press release, talked about WrestleMania highlights. It says WrestleMania was held at AT&T Stadium in Dallas over 2 consecutive nights in front of a combined 156,000 fans. WrestleMania was WWE's highest grossing and most attended event in company history. Well, it's 2 nights. Come on. WrestleMania was the most viewed WWE premium live event of all time. Global unique viewership increased 54%. And domestic unique viewership increased 61% year over year. This, of course, is compared to WrestleMania last year. Unique viewership is people who have never watched the content before and now watching it again. And it's up 54%. That's crazy. That's crazy. Now, a lot of people have asked questions about that over time. How much of that is people watching it again and again and again? And how much of that is unique viewership, which is, one person or two separate people clicking it. And it seems like they've done pretty well with unique viewership. It says WrestleMania was the second most viewed event on Peacock to date, but only behind Super Bowl, 46? WrestleMania generated 2.2 billion social media impressions, more than 1.8 billion impressions generated by Super Bowl 46. WrestleMania viewership in India was a record 56 million. Oh, a 29% increase year over year. Holy shit. 56 million people in India watched WrestleMania. That's insane. That's insane. All right, so let's go to what Nick Khan said. He talked about pretty much all the things that were in the press release. And then he says, Elimination Chamber 2022 was up 41% domestically over the last year. This Elimination Chamber this year was in Saudi Arabia. So he says it was up 41% domestically, 42% increase in viewership globally. And this is wild, man. That's pretty much the only real color he added to the whole thing. Stephanie talked about the WrestleMania success in terms of over the Super Bowl of how many viewership views, and we already went through that. He talked about the new partnerships, DoorDash and Fenty Beauty, which I know that Bianca Belair was involved with. There was some other, I think, a wrestler and what is it, Jade Cargill also on the Fenty Beauty Instagram line. I think she also was too. I know Bianca Belair was. I think there was a female in AEW that was too, or was it another female wrestler that I'm thinking of? But Fenty Beauty, for those who don't know, is Rihanna's thing. So WWE 2K22, it says it had $6 million views on Twitch. And Stephanie announced that there will be a WWE role-playing game. And dude, I'm excited as fuck for that. I'm not a gamer, but if you give me like some type of open world, WWE style game where you can run around backstage and get into fights and shit, that shit sounds like it would be so fun. A WWE RPG game sounds absolutely fucking nutty. It sounds nutty. Because in the old SmackDown games, you could do that. You could walk around backstage and get into fights and, pick your conversations and stuff like that. I don't know if the game has kind of moved away from that. But some type of open world thing where you can walk around in the arena and all that kind of shit would be very fucking cool. A game where you could pick your party members and you can create a stable, but like party members or some shit, it sounds fucking cool. The idea of course, I think the story will probably be being world champion or something like that. But that sounds like it'll be fun. If you had side missions and side quests and all that kind of stuff, it sounds like it'll be dope. If it's done right, it sounds like it'd be dope, man. And I'm glad that they're actually taking the risk on doing different things. And because I know WWE 2K, the wrestling games have become essentially fighting games, with combos and all that kind of shit, right? But so them wanting to do something different like an RPG sounds fun. That sounds fun as fuck. I wouldn't buy like a PlayStation 5 just to get it, but shit, I'm very, very interested. So Stephanie also talked about they did in partnership with the Dallas Cowboys, they did an all-college tryout with 50 student athletes. They hired 15 of them, 8 men, 7 women. And these will be additional signees to the NIL program. She said that Logan Paul, his involvement in WrestleMania led to 119 million video views, 15 million engagements, and 143 million impressions. And then she talked about WWE's impact on pop culture with The Undertaker driving the pace car for the Daytona 500, Sasha Banks and Xavier Woods been at the Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards, Roman Reigns on Jimmy Fallon, and 4 superstars involved in the NFL draft on ESPN, being Baron Corbin. She called him Baron Corbin. The Miz, Titus O'Neil, and Gable Stevenson. Or Stevenson. So that's very interesting. All this is very good stuff. I saw the Miz at the NFL draft. I didn't see Baron Corbin or Titus O'Neil, but the Miz went up there and got some heat. So, so I mean, the Miz has a purpose, right? He serves his purpose. So I always skip the nuts and bolts financial discussion because it's very, very boring. I leave that to WrestleNomics and all those people who want to be accountants. I study accounting a little bit, but not enough to really give you any harsh details on it. All right, so let's skip to the Q&A session. So one of the questions was about the Peacock partnership and whether bundling Raw and SmackDown together in terms of renewal is possible for 2024. Nate Khan says that bundling is, quote, a powerful tool, but they will speak to the incumbents being NBC and Fox before going further. I think that they lose a lot of leverage if they bundle Raw and SmackDown together. Basically, you're saying, hey, we're going to go all in on one brand or one partner. It might be helpful, in some ways, but in other ways, it's not. I like the idea of WWE having different partnerships because what ends up happening is you don't become too tied in to one broadcaster. You don't ever want to put all your eggs in one basket. And I'm pretty sure they would do it if there's going to be enough money involved. They probably would. But if I were them, I would definitely try to keep some stuff away from, NBC and Fox. Well, like their business with A&E. Like they could easily have sold WWE Rivals, Most Wanted Treasures, and all that shit, and sold it to NBC or sold it to Fox or something like that. They chose to go with A&E, which was to me a smarter decision to just to break up the monotony of the whole thing. As far as I know, A&E is owned by Disney, I believe, or one of the owners is Disney. So they're kind of doing business a lot of different pots. I think that's actually pretty smart. But they're going to go where the money is. And if the money is keeping Raw and SmackDown together as part of NBC or as part of Fox, they're probably going to go with that. But you also have to run the risk of, it could be Amazon or Netflix or something like that might step in and want to give them the money. So they were asked about India, the ratings and the engagements, and is there a possible that they will do a stadium show in India? Khan talked about Superstar Spectacle and the success that was, and said that their live events and WrestleMania did well in India, and they're always looking for global markets. Like they stumbled across Cardiff and thought it was the right time, and if it ever becomes the right time in India, they will consider it. But I think that's a long way of saying no, because we all know that the Indian market can't really support a promotion. They did they did shows in India in 2017, I believe it was, and they didn't do very well. Maybe do one show in India and not a tour. Maybe do one big show, like take the Royal Rumble over there or something like that. That could be very interesting, but we'll see if that actually occurs. They were asked about global success, meaning international deals and licensing. What does that mean? Khan talked about how WWE was ahead of the curve about WWE Network, and he believes that they're ahead of the curve again when it comes to licensing as the streaming services begin to sort of collapse in on each other. They talked about core content rights was a different question, being $11 million less this time around than it was last year. And the questioner said there was one fewer SmackDown episode in the fourth quarter, but this was still kind of a deep drip in how much money they didn't make in the fourth quarter. Khan said that yes, it was the number of events, but it wasn't a missed SmackDown. It was a missed pay-per-view, and he corrected him by saying when we moved, to doing day one, that took out the December pay-per-view. So yeah, the fourth quarter earnings call was affected by that. There being one fewer pay-per-view event in December which would be the fourth quarter. But that also means that the first quarter was elevated by there being an extra pay-per-view event in January. They were asked about TV ratings, and they said that the TV ratings have been trending downward since WrestleMania. Khan said that the ratings are actually up on Raw and SmackDown, and that they beat the NBA playoffs on head-to-head, and that on SmackDown, they're doing very well. And he says that linear ratings on TV are down. Network TV and scripted television is in trouble. Essentially, that it's becoming a streaming game. Is what he's saying. We already knew that though. Like, that's not over the top, or anything like that. But the playoffs and football and everything is starting to really kick WWE's ass in the ratings. And even if they're not winning the ratings, they're being hampered by the fact that the NBA playoffs are on, and the NFL the NFL games and stuff like that about to start up in a couple of months. So there's a lot going on. I think hockey's having its playoffs too. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and some pretty. I don't know if there's any. Is there any good like hot TV shows on at the same time? I don't think so, right? I think I would have heard if it was like some kind of really hot game show or something like that burning up the TV. I would have heard about it even if I don't watch it. But ratings, they are what they are. But they are still the number one show on both Fox on Fridays when they air, and then on Mondays when they air. They're usually in the top 5, if not number 1. So that's interesting. But I do think that they should consider, I think it would be great for us to know what instead of, like, we set our own little standards. Like with WWE, we expect 2 million viewers every week for like SmackDown or something like that. For Dynamite, it has to be 1 million viewers. We set those standards. We don't know what TBS thinks is good. We don't know what NBC or Fox thinks is good. We don't know that. And then when you also talk to people who are in the know about the business of the business, they say, okay, what about the premium ad buys? So let's talk about that for a moment, because this guy, he was talking to, I believe it was Eric Bischoff, and he asked the question about, when it comes to AEW, but we can actually easily form this question in terms of WWE. So the guy's name is Mick Pandit. He is from Universal Studios Group and is the business affairs manager. He talked to Eric Bischoff, and he was talking about the business of the business too. And I think this is very interesting. And he was talking about AEW's million viewers. And he says, I think that's a huge advantage for them. Or he's talking about something else. I'm reading. I'm missing something here. He says, they want to see new content. Is a baseline of 1 million viewers something Tony can sell as an advantage for him? Yes. The question is, what is the price he's going to get for that? Now, as we see more consolidation in the industry and their partnership primarily with Warner Media, that's being run by Discovery executives, not Warner executives, from all intensive purposes, from what we have seen, and I don't know anyone in that organization, but they're going to run a much leaner and meaner business than Warner had planned on running. Now, does that mean AEW is going to get the kind of live rights media fees they would have gotten a couple of years ago? I don't know the answer to that question, but I think the advantage for AEW is that they, even at an increase to what they're currently getting paid, which is around $40 to $45 million, is still probably cheaper than scripted programming. Then he goes into some stuff about WWE and Disney, and then he went back to AEW by saying AEW's advantage is they have on average 1 million linear cable viewers week to week. Most of those people probably have access to an HBO Max, so I would imagine it's more valuable for HBO Max to have that content on HBO Max so they can grow their subscriber base and retain it. Of those 1 million AEW fans, if let's say half of them subscribe to HBO Max, that's a solid 400,000 fans and subscribers who are going to drop off at a lower rate than your average subscriber. So he's talking about, the loyalty subscribers, the loyalty viewers. But you can just port this same thing to WWE. That NBC ran the risk of, when they got rid of the WWE network, of getting WWE's fan base to buy into Peacock. And they ended up doing so. Like we saw, I think it was 1 point some odd million WWE subscribers on the network. And most of those people, if not all of them, actually did port over to Peacock. So that was very interesting, you know. So he's saying that AEW could theoretically do the same thing if they have people who are willing to pay for it. So, but that's, you know, making an HBO Max deal. And when we're talking about bundling Raw and SmackDown together, it's entirely possible that they could go behind a paywall in the future. And I do not like that idea. Because for starters, it will lower the amount of people. It would make wrestling more niche than it already is. I like wrestling in a way where everybody can get to it. If anything, they need to be trying to get Raw on broadcast television. Why not get... What is Fox showing at 8 o'clock on a Monday? You know? Try to get them to buy Raw. And see if we can get people to watch Raw on Mondays. And I say this because I know it's probably not the best thing for business in the long term. I know it's breaking with tradition. Nick Khan doesn't care about tradition. But I know all of that stuff. But my thing is, most people get into wrestling when they're children. And most people, you know, that watch wrestling are lower income minorities. They've always had SmackDown because SmackDown has always been on broadcast TV. Let's get them Raw too. That gives you the opportunity to get the most people possible. Yes, Amazon may pay you more money. Yes, Apple TV may go in the bag and give you more money. I get that. But it'll put you behind a paywall. And some people who don't want to have all these different streaming services might not want to pay just to watch Raw or SmackDown. They may just start pirating it at that point. So you'll still probably have the viewers. They'll just be going to some bootleg site or something like that to watch it rather than watching it where you need them to watch it. You need to create ease of access. They need to try to get back on basic TV. You know, that's what I think. You know, just for the eyeballs, if not for nothing else. You know. But they're going to go where the money is. They're going to go where the rights fees are. And they're going to hope that people are going to port over and shove out the cash. And I'm thinking that Raw or SmackDown by 2030 will probably be behind a paywall. And that's going to fucking suck. And I'm telling you that right now. They'll probably get paid a chunk of money off of it. They'll probably, get like a revenue sharing thing or something. But that will fucking suck. Whether it's Peacock is going to have Raw and SmackDown on it, I wouldn't put it past them. Or it's going to be something else, but there's probably going to be some type of paid program that you're going to have to pay to, or the quote unquote free Peacock usage to get Raw and SmackDown. That's going to fucking suck, man. I should be able to watch it on TV, not on a tablet or a cell phone or anything. And yes, I know people have tablets and cell phones in their pocket, but I still like the idea of traditional television. I like that because I think it's appealing to more people. It's just me. But let me know what you guys think about all of this. Like, share, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace out.
Tell me what's worse than learning all that you led to believe was all horse crap. They distort, so question as